Hello everyone. In this session we are going to discuss about the type of freely movable joints. As discussed in the last session, there are four types of freely movable joints: ball and socket joint, pivot joint, hinge joint, and you have one more which is known as gliding joint. So please take a note of this. Let's study in detail about what is ball and socket joint. Okay, you might have heard parents saying that don't pull the hands of young ones, otherwise it will come out. Hand coming out, which means what? And then, if by chance it comes out, we take the child to the doctor. The doctor does something and fits it uh, back into its position. So that is because of the ball and socket joint. So what happened? Your shoulder region that is the clavicle. Okay, we studied the scapula. We studied the scapula is a triangle shaped bone present in your shoulder region. So end of the scapula has something, a cavity like structure, a socket like structure, and your humerus, which is present in your arm, in your upper arm, one end of the humerus has a ball shaped structure. So this ball shaped structure fits into this cavity, and hence the bones are attached together, which helps in movement. So one end of the bone, or one of the bone, has a ball shaped rounded structure, and other end of the other bone, okay, has a socket shaped structure, and hence this joint is said to be ball and socket joint. This allows rotation up to 360 degrees Celsius. If you try to rotate your hands will rotate in all the direction, that is 360 degrees. Why? Because the joint present in your shoulder region, in your pectoral region, is ball and socket joint. So whenever you pull the hands of small children, it is not that at that time the joint is not that firm, it is not that strong. So what happens when you pull the hand, the ball comes out of the socket, and when the ball comes out of the socket, we say that the hand is out. So it is not the hand is out, the ball has come out, and because of which the baby is in pain. So that is about ball and socket joint, that one bone is hooked into the hollow space of another bone. So scapula has a space, and inside this the humerus rounded structure goes and fits, and it allows 360-degree movement. Please take a note of this. It allows 360-degree movement. In addition to this, such type of ball and socket joint is also present in your hip region. We call it as pelvic region. Okay, between your hip bones and your femur. Next, hinge joint. Have you seen your door moving back and forth? It only moves back and forth. And why it is moving back and forth? Because suppose this is your support, and this is your door, suppose. It comes back and forth, but if you see clearly, there is something rounded structure here, which we call it as hinge or hinges. So this rounded structure, because of this rounded structure, it allows these doors to come thisward, allows the doors to go backward. But if you try to make your door come completely to this side, it will not come. Just try and push your door to exactly the opposite side. It will not go, because this hinge allows only 180 degree of movement. 180 degree of movement. Okay, sorry, 180 degree of movement. So in the same way, you have a hinge joint present in your elbow, in your knees, okay, in your ankle. You have in your elbow, in your knees, and your ankle. If you put your hand from the elbow, your hand will only come up, it will go straight, come up, go straight. Your legs will also go behind, it will come straight. Your leg cannot come to your stomach, towards your stomach. Why? Because your knee and your lower arm and your upper arm and your lower arm are connected by a joint which is known as hinge joint. So this joint works like the hinges work while opening and closing of the door. In this form, only backward and forward movement is allowed. Okay, so very important point: backward and forward movement is allowed. Only backward and forward. No rotational movement. You cannot rotate it to 360 degrees. Okay. Such type of joint is found in your knees, ankle, elbow, etc. Remember, knee and elbow, these are the important ones. Ankle also has hinge joint. Moving to the third type, that is pivot joint. Now, in the first case, what was there? The end of the one bone was circle and the end of the another bone was a hollow cavity. But in this case, one bone has a complete ring-shaped structure. Okay, one bone has a complete, this is suppose your bone, one end of the bone has a complete ring-shaped structure, and then another bone goes into it. It is the whole one end of the bone is going into it, as you see here. Okay, so that is the difference. Here only half shape structure you get. Here you get a complete circle, and you imagine you put your pen inside, make a circle of your thumb and your first finger, and then put a pen inside it. So the pen will be one bone which is moving in all directions around its own axis, and the thumb and the first finger will be the another bone. So such type of joint is said to be pivot joint, where the rounded surface of cylindrical structure of one bone fits into the cavity formed by other bone. So this is the cavity formed by bone 1, suppose you say, and this is the end of a cylindrical bone 2. Okay, cylindrical shape bone 2 which is going into the cavity of bone 1, and because of it is in the cavity, this bone 2 can rotate in all the directions. This type of joint, this pivot joint, is found in first two vertebrae of your vertebral column. So your vertebral column starts right from the brain itself. So the first two vertebrae are said to be atlas and axis. Right, atlas and axis, these two vertebrae are joined by a special type of joint which is known as pivot joint. Okay, in this one bone can rotate in all directions. And the last type is gliding joints. Gliding means moving over each other. So sometimes your mama or elders say that your bone, one bone is above the other bone. Oh, how is this possible? This is because there is a gliding joint present wherever you have flat bones. Okay, so whenever gliding joint comes into picture, you have to remember the bones will be more or less flat in shape. Then only they can glide over each other. And this type of joint is present when the bones have smooth surfaces, and hence when they rub over each other, there is no friction which is created. Okay, so gliding joints is when the bones can glide over, come over each other, and this joint is found when the bones have flat surfaces, hence the bones glide or slip over each other due to the presence of flat surfaces. This joint permits two or more round or flat bones to move freely. They can move in any direction they want. You can see such type of joints in wrist, ankle, or in some vertebrae also. Wrist, ankle, vertebrae. Okay, that is gliding joint. So with this, we are done with the 4 important types of freely movable joints: ball and socket joint, hinge joint, pivot joint, and gliding joint. Okay, if you have any doubts, you can write in the comment section. I will try to answer them to the best of my knowledge. Also, please do subscribe my channel and click on the like button. Thank you very much.